What's up, everybody? I'm Fernando Mastrangelo, and welcome back to Season 2 of Design Discord. Today, I have an incredible guest for Episode 1, Zesty Meyers of R&Company. He's a legend. He's been in the industry over 30 years, and he tells us the most incredible story. From the start of the B team to starting R&Co in 1997, to all the way through today, the marketplace, design fairs, his philosophy, working with artists. Just an incredible story of his life through this creative endeavor of running R&Company for so many years. It's moving, it's beautiful, and I can't wait for you guys to listen to it. So let's get into it. Zesty, welcome to Design Discord. R&Company started in 1997, but there's a whole backstory that I'd love for you to tell us about, and what we're just talking about offline here, but the B team. And, you know, I went to Pilchuck. That's kind of a commonality. You went there in 89. This is cool, but like, tell us the story from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, we could even start at Pilchuck because Pilchuck formed the B team.
Yeah, that's what's cool. Yeah.
I went there as a student in 1989. I was a freshman in college and worked all winter and saved up my money and decided I'd want to go check out these other places. I mean, I guess I was really desperate to see what was happening in the country because remember, there's no internet, there's no connection. Right. You know, you'd have to wait for the magazine to come, but that only had so much in it, right? And that was it. And then you'd have to wait again. So when I went there, I was just blown away of what the people were doing, what was there. Yeah. So Pilchuck is a school for glass mainly, and they have the best glass technicians in the world, coming the best maestros from all over the world to teach their craft. And then there's people that take these classes, and then there was also a fine artist visiting program. And it was really the combination of the two things that was my place. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I always had these ideas. So getting past technique to speak to these fine artists or getting time with some of these fine artists became incredible. But at this time, craft was a really dirty word in America. Mm-hmm. Craft was dying. The museum collections were full. They'd all realized they sort of bought all of the same stuff, maybe in slightly different colors, but like the same size. They had stopped collecting. Galleries were closing. The collectors weren't there. There wasn't a new emerging generation of collectors. Okay. This was very odd. And I was like, how come? And then, so the fierceness of competition to stay who you were of the generation older than me or two generations older than me was harsh. I was not going to get into their world. I was not going to become that. We had to find a different method of how to get ourselves out there. And one of the things that we did, you know, and at this time there was the NEA in America was, you know, really, really for the first time in, I think maybe ever since it was created, really started to cut its budget, and big time. And so individuals were being affected. There weren't as many grants. Money was drying up. Sort of no different than sort of what's happening today. Yeah. You know, oddly, it's the same thing repeating itself. Right. The same kind of problems, same exact problems maybe. And someone had once taught me how to learn. And I decided, since someone taught me how to learn, and that day that I learned something, I knew I could learn anything I wanted. And I wanted to find a way to help and give back as much as I wanted to create and make things and figure out what was going on. And I was invited that summer when I was like 20 years old to give a lecture at Kent State. Okay. And I was like, how am I going to do that? And they're like, oh, we'll pay you some money to come. And I was like, I don't know. I'm a student. I'm like a sophomore or junior in college. I don't even think I was a junior yet. I was like, what am I going to do? And so I convinced three other of my colleagues I was at the Massachusetts College of the Arts at the time, to come with me. And so never mind did we think like that. We decided that if we could go to one school, why couldn't we go to multiple schools? Mm-hmm. And every single school up in mid-America and the upper states, we started in Fargo, North Dakota. It was the first time I gave a workshop back in 1991. Wow. And then we made our way through Illinois and Minnesota and to New York, Ohio.
And this was like your way of, in this weird tumultuous market time, this was a way for you to make money.
Right. We weren't making money from this at all.
Oh, you weren't? Oh.
No. We were getting funded. The schools paid for us. Okay. I think some of the teachers thought this was our trick to try to get into grad school. Okay. And they'd never seen anyone do this. Yeah. But for us, it was like, well, what is this community? Is anyone doing anything interesting? Yeah. And if we work with this material of glass, well, it supposedly can do anything.
Yeah.
So we're people doing stuff that we don't know about. And it pushed us to create things. And eventually this is what led us to formally form what became known as the B Team. And the B Team, the name came from a show I was in Seattle years ago with the staff at Pilchuck when I was working there, where the art critics said, this is the B Team. This is who you need to watch. These are the up and comers. Because like I said, we were never going to be the generation. We couldn't compete with the generation above us.
Right. And I heard you were just like, it's stuck. You were like, yeah, fine, B Team, that's what we'll be. You didn't think about it too much. It was just like, that's it. That's who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it made sense. We were supposed to be the next generation.
Right.
And there always has to be next. And then we started to go out there more and do things and push things. And we ended up really being able to do performance and installations with molten glass. The idea wasn't so much to have an end product that you could sell. All of us had separate lives. We were showing in galleries. Museums were collecting some of our work. Oh, cool. We were having group shows or being in shows across the country, or had galleries representing us. Or certain people that we were with just wanted to be the best glass maker ever. And it was great because we would use each other's talents to make other things happen. But it would push us to have to think on the spot. Also, if you're good at your craft, you should be able to take it and walk into a studio you've never been in to be able to perform it. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the hardest things in the world to do. Is go into a place that's unfamiliar, where you don't know the footing, the temperature, the physicalities, and be able to pull something off. And that becomes a rush, just like being on stage every night. It's the same kind of endorphin-raising things that are good. What we realized we could do is that we could encourage a whole generation of people that were at university that maybe weren't getting the idea of what they could do out there. We were playing Dada games with them. We were doing installations with them over 2 or 3 days. They were coming up with ideas, and then they were making it with us. And these are things none of us had ever made. So that spontaneity.
What do you think? Where did that spontaneity come from? Is it the time and sort of the, where we were as a society at the time that kind of allowed you guys to do that?
Well, maybe, yeah.
What was the energy of that time?
It's just, not using our own skills to let them down, to have creativity, to work with people, to make a community. There was since we weren't selling a product, we weren't fiercely trying to hide our secrets of technique. Okay. Or what was it that was making us the money? Right. This was like, all right, let's do stuff we've never done because you're at this amazing university that has amazing things. And you got 4 years to do whatever you want besides your assignments. Why aren't you going crazy? Why aren't you going wild to figure yourself out? Right. And I think most people follow the line. They sit in a straight row. Here's the assignment. Oh, this is what I got to make. And we're like, well, what do you want to make? We started in the reverse way. And then all of a sudden, as we talk to people, they would start to open up. And if we got people to open up, then all of a sudden I'm making things I never made. And then I'm getting ideas I never had. And then we're exchanging, then we're having fun. And I don't think fun in the idea of the design market is a word that's used enough, or in any of the arts. And we should be able to have more fun with what we do. I mean, as much as I think the practices and the people that we represent are very serious, but the idea of being able to have fun with what we've created should be a mandatory thing.
Yeah. Especially when it stops being fun for some, when it becomes too commercial, where you have to, you lose that spirit that you're talking about. I love that spirit you're talking about, because I remember that in art school, and but it was a different era. I don't know if that spirit is alive today in a lot of young generations.
I think it might be, because young people have access to everything, and if you can read and can then think about it through your brain and use your hands, or however you have to create those things. I think part of that is replacing some of the idea of what art school is about. You can just start to build your idea. You could go to work with someone specifically. Now, I think there's a lot more access to all of these things. I think it's only going to grow this way. I think art schools are going to have to adapt to how much is already out there. And yes, if you want certain skills to be a perfectionist with welding, you're going to have to go work with a welder. But is that something at a university? And and going and studying with certain teachers could be the most amazing thing ever. And I don't discredit that. And I want people to go and do this more. But I want them to go look for what they want. Or even if they don't quite know what they want, that they keep trying to find the want. Right? And if you keep trying to find the want, you're moving forward, you're moving your ideas forward, you keep trying. And, that's what the B Team did in the end, is we helped encourage people to become themselves, and for us to become more of ourselves. And, the rules we wrote, or the ideas we wrote, like we would, back in the early 90s, where in the sketchbooks, when we look at them, and all of our archives is at the Corning Museum in the Rayco Library, and anyone can access them. The sketchbooks are already all scanned and they're online.
Cool.
But we would write things, if you don't ask, it's still a no. And we would go on with these other slogans, and so it was really that simple. If we didn't have it already, why? And this is what we wanted. Why? How many people would we have to ask to get it? Right? Where would we have to go? And the universities couldn't afford to pay us what we needed in the end because some had more money than others, as you would imagine. We were sponsored privately. We became a not-for-profit.
Wow.
We started eventually. The idea, the main goal with everything I'm talking about was to bridge the gap between craft and fine art and craft and performance art. We didn't see a difference. We just saw it as marketing.
Right.
Right. So this year at Design Miami, either two or three of the people we were showing in our booth were also being shown across the street at Art Basel. What's the difference? One said so, right? The other gallery says they're a fine artist. I say they're a design artist.
Right.
What does it matter? The viewer is going to make it up for themselves anyways, right? It's so marketing, I think, became a huge thing. Why craft became a dirty word at this time. We had to leave that market of craft or glass or these other things to create our own design community. And that's, in the end, what we did. But we only did it by creating a hope, or that we know we could try, and we set out to change something really different.
Do you think that spirit has continued into R&Company? Like that spirit of marketing, the way that you're talking about this, like your spirit of doing that has continued in your ethos now?
So when I've reread parts of the sketchbooks that we wrote 30 years ago, or more than 30 years ago,
you're like, oh, I still believe that. Or
I thought I would be wiser because I'm older.
You're like,
and smarter. But those ideas are the ethos of what we still live by today.
Yeah.
It exactly transmitted. That gave us the guts to go and create. It gave us the courage.
I mean, hearing you talk about this era, and then to think of you as a dealer, becoming a dealer, 1997, like, how does this happen? Because you seem like an artist to me, like you guys are artists.
Yeah.
Like the real deal. And then, look, like I said, I've only been in the industry 12 years. So me thinking of you, I think you as a dealer. Mm-hmm. How does 1997 come around and you guys decide to kind of disband and say, okay, let's, become sellers of this stuff?
We had both for a while.
You did?
Yes. Okay. Our last piece was in 1999 at Grand Arts in Kansas City, which was a great place that sponsored talent to make amazing installations or whatever they wanted to show.
Okay.
That was there at the time. But so we're doing at the end both of these things together. The idea with the B team is that it was never set up for us to make a living. It was set up to bridge these gaps.
Right.
Like I said, we all had other careers, and that's the hard part to remember, because now we start getting more and more popular. People want us all over the world to come. We're being offered to do tons of things. But we started to get Tiffany grants, Bessie Awards.
Wow.
On and on things were coming, where we helped open the new museum when they were still on Broadway, and they opened a second floor. Right. That's how long ago. We blew sugar in the window and gave it out to the crowd to eat.
Blue sugar.
Yeah.
Cool.
But we could always create something. We're traveling through Japan, and now all of a sudden it's taking 6 months of our year. And that wasn't the idea. That's when we knew we were successful. My idea was never to become famous from this, but was to be the catalyst that could help bridge these gaps.
Right.
This is what naturally led us into then becoming a dealer. Right. Okay. And so, like I said, we had to go and create our own design world, our own marketplace. We had to find our thing, our own hybrid of concept, collectible, interesting, whatever it was that wasn't, here's the craft market, here's the fine arts market. Well, what's this other thing in between?
Tell me what the design market looked like in those 1997, 1990, that time. I was graduating high school. You know what I mean? What was it like?
So most of design was going through the same kind of problem. So the Herman Millers of the world, the Knowles of the world, had in the late 60s, early 70s, really had to go corporate. And that was on a decline too. That style was ending of those makers, the B&B Italias. They hadn't reemerged back out yet. What we didn't realize when we started the gallery is that we came at this great moment of time when naturally people started to deaccession things from the mid-century that we couldn't have planned. This happens continuously per decade throughout all centuries, right? This is a natural way of life. We didn't realize how big it was, or the moment that we captured. That was the first thing that happened. It was wild. And we were selling, even in 1996, we were selling at the Chelsea Flea Market. And the Chelsea Flea Market was amazing. And I never imagined, because we rented a little piece of asphalt, and this was fun. This was a hobby for us at the time. In a way, Evan and I, we both put in $100 each in 1996.
To start the company?
To start the company. And then it multiplied from there. And I never imagined, by having a little piece of asphalt at the Chelsea Market, not even a year later at the flea market, that we would meet some of the most influential people that were creating culture in New York City to this day.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. And I had no idea that people that were looking for inspiration to that level were getting there early in the morning. And then I still run into people to this day that have things they bought from us at this time.
Wow.
That still remind me, that are still leading whatever parts of their culture, of their industry that they're doing. It was truly an amazing moment of time, which we couldn't have planned either.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so what set us apart? Yes, you're right. We were artists. So we didn't stack it high and watch it fly in the booth, or stack it deep and sell it cheap. Right. These are flea market terms now. We presented it like an exhibition.
Right.
So
of course.
That's why all these other cultural people flock to us. So what do you think they wanted? Where's your warehouse? When can I come? I need to see the stuff. I'm buying things, right? Well, we didn't really...
They were like forcing you to professionalize yourself or something, or like, yeah.
So we didn't really even have a warehouse yet.
Right.
And we're like, really? We're like, sure, we're not ready. And then, but I mean, it was multiple, it was relentless. So we decided that we would then eventually rent a space. And we were only supposed to be open one day a week to the public. And the second we tried to move the first piece of furniture in Williamsburg, we sold it before we even got it through the door.
No way.
Yeah. And we opened on South First and Wythe.
Oh yeah.
The crack vials were still there every morning.
I feel like that was a dirt road at one point. Still.
And then within a week, we're open 7 days a week.
Wow.
The New York Times is coming, like El Decor is coming, Wallpaper just started, Tyler's flying over on the Concorde to come visit us and tell us he's going to put us in wall. I mean, it was just insane.
Why? What was it that you guys captured in that moment?
I think it was because we weren't businessmen. We were artists presenting things that we liked in a different way that maybe was a little bit fresh for that, or was completely fresh for that moment of time. Our perspective was different. Instead of saying, oh, this is just a so-and-so, so this is blah, 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 or coming at it from a business perspective, we came at it only from the perspective of creativity. Evan
That's cool, right.
and I never, ever took a class in business. We had, we had no idea.
Right.
And then we just went for it, and it started to work.
Who were you showing? I mean, your friends, your people
no friends.
No friends.
No friends.
Okay.
No friends. It was purely 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe things from the 1940s. It was all vintage design.
That you guys were scooping up at low prices because people were getting rid of it. It was like a turnover.
We had a third partner at this time that lived in Sweden.
Okay.
And we were sending, we of course, we sent a container before we even had the thing that became the store. We sent a whole container. But back then we bought our first whole container, a whole 18-wheeler full for $10,000. Finuel, Ani Jacobsen, Werner Panton, you name it. We would go and we would have to fight over what would fit in the truck to get it done at the end. It was everywhere. We were going around Sweden and Denmark at first, and there was just pieces everywhere that we could buy.
Wow. And
it was great. And it was like learning. And then, but once again, we didn't have the education. I didn't know much about Arnie Jacobsen or Finuel or anyone else like this at the time. So we then would go to antiquarian bookstores and we would buy every single book. We knew that was our education. We would go to the Strand in New York and and then we'd have like conversations like, well, if Alvar Aalto is the number one designer in Finland, there has to be a number two. And then we'd go fly to Finland. And sure enough, there was a 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And it carried on. And everywhere we were going all over Europe, we started to do this. And that's how it really started to come together. And we had decided now that one of the things we really wanted to do was have our own catalogs at the time.
Okay.
I've always called it, then we wanted to, which we didn't have yet, but that was going to lead into the bigger dream of having a big boy book. Okay. Right. A big professionally monograph, right. Of something we did. So, but we knew where we were in Williamsburg. And at the time we would have had we had a better chance if we moved to Manhattan to be able to accomplish this goal, and why, if Sotheby's and the Christie's of the world were starting to sell pieces of design for six figures, why wasn't the criticism, the writing, the periodicals out there? It wasn't making sense. How could the money be just leading the way without the other institutional aspect?
Scholarship of it,
coming up.
Yeah.
And so we decided we would move to Manhattan to try to change this world.
Wow.
And take that on and present design just as art, put it on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Show it off like there had to be a reason why these things were made at this time. And sure enough, the stories were fantastic. And some of them were simple, some of them very complicated, and some were really conceptual in the end of what we found. So when we decided to move to Manhattan, we start looking, and we really don't have enough money to move to Manhattan. And this is in 1999. We have a little
So
bit
Manhattan
of money.
back then was like, it was just unattainable kind of thing, or felt unattainable.
Well, yeah, we were tiny. We had this little thing. We started at the flea market, and then so I'll tell the story of how it happened.
Please.
I was in Finland, and so in '99 we had cell phones by then, obviously, and which were really expensive because they charged by the minute, which was also a whole other thing of paying your cell phone bill at the end of the month, if you could imagine. Texting was that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I was with our then business partner in Finland, and we get a call, and Evan's like, I just got offered a whole entire set from Marcel Breuer from the Bryn Mawr University dormitories.
Wow.
And it was Marcel Breuer's first commission in America. And we knew all about this. There had been one chair that had been found and came up that had sold for like $10,000 in like 1990. And we're like, well, how much is the set? And he's like, it's $15,000. And we get all excited. And it had the chair, the dresser, a mirror, a bookshelf, and a desk. And we're like, this is weird. Like, we got to find out more. How did he get a whole set? And sure enough, we start digging, and we knew the guy that was trying to sell it to us. And we're like super interested. Should we spend all our money on this kind of thing? Like, can we sell this? And we want to get more information. And Evan ends up calling Bryn Mawr University, gets the right person on the phone. He goes, oh yeah, we're clearing out the dormitory. Swear to God, right? And Evan's like, wow, that's really cool. Or says something like, that's amazing. I don't know, something like this, right? And he calls us back, well, they're getting rid of everything. I was like, can we buy it? And they're like, he's like, oh, let me find out. And he calls back and he goes, oh, no, it's for the alumni. And then we ask, well, if the alumni doesn't buy it all, can we buy some of it? And they're like, yeah, we have to get rid of it.
This is crazy.
And we're like, okay. And then they said, okay, we've given a set to the Philadelphia Museum of Art or to the Smithsonian, or a couple other museums have already gotten sets, which was really great that they did that, right? Because it really needs to be in those kinds of collections.
Right.
And so we knew that going in. So we go there for the alumni sale, and we're walking around campus, and then it happens, and there's some alumni that gather around where they're trying to auction this stuff off. And I think out of all these people, 2 people buy things. 2. And then so that we know the woman's like, come with me. And she takes us into this gymnasium. She's like, pick out whatever you want. Just tag it and it's yours. So we put the best sets together. We spent all the money we had, all the money, every single penny that we were going to try to move to Manhattan with, all the money. And we then leave, and we can't take it all back. We have to go get a giant, truck to bring the rest of it back, because we bought like, I don't know how many sets, 18 sets, something like that of this furniture. And then we instantly try to start selling it. And within a day, we make our money back. Whoa. And then we have all this to sell. So now it's like now all of a sudden we've multiplied all the money we had. Right.
From what venue, where, how?
We just started to call people.
Calling people.
Right. And this was like a known thing.
Hey, I have this. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
And then they tell someone else, and then boom, our phone is ringing and blah, blah, blah. And then it just happens. It's done. We sell like 8 sets or something, or 10 sets.
You're like, we can open a Manhattan gallery now.
And that became the catalyst for us to change. What we didn't realize at the time, that David Rago from Rago Auctions himself was actually on campus. His business partner's daughter had looked to go to school there a few months prior, and they had stumbled upon the same thing, and we didn't run into them that day. They bought everything we didn't buy. But that's what the point of telling the story, it's a great story, but it's also a catalyst moment that got us to push us forward. Yeah. That something came at a period of time for a chance that we wanted to take, and this was one of the things that really made it possible. right? For us to be able to do this.
Your story so far has so many kind of kismet moments going on, like your whole life so far feels like there's a lot of that going on. These kind of moments and unexpected things that have led you to to follow a path in a way that you couldn't have thought of, or
no.
It's Have you felt like that's been true throughout your life?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, like I said, my catalyst moment was someone taught me how to learn.
Right.
And ever since that day that someone taught me how to learn, and it all happened in like 1 hour, less than an hour. And then it's
what does that mean?
Someone showed me that I could learn anything I wanted and showed me how to figure it out just by helping me in school. Mm-hmm. That one professor, that one thing, that one time that opened that door. Mm-hmm. And I really think it's that simple. It's not always found. Mm-hmm. But I think also to keep your mind open enough to be able to hear it or see it becomes one of the things that we're so distracted from. They're always around us. We miss them every day. Mm-hmm. There's only so much we can take in or do compared to how we're already thinking or have to do or the pressure we're under. But if you reverse that and think about, well, there's always a possibility. Mm-hmm. The first thing that happened when I came to New York is everyone would tell me good luck back in the 90s. I'm like, why is everyone saying good luck? What's luck? I was like, yeah, you and I can go to the bodega now across the street and buy lottery tickets, and one of us might win. That would be luck. But if I could do the same thing over and over and over again, that is not luck. You have talent in a different way. You can see things, you can communicate things, you can get things, you can find things to get to the next person. You can show it in the right way for people to understand. That is not luck. You've surpassed luck. Mm-hmm. One of the things in the marketplace that we'll end up talking about is most people in the world really have only one great idea, and it should really be celebrated more. And this is where I find a lot of the marketplace is lacking. So if we turn this into a conversation about music, we could say, oh, name me a one-hit wonder that you liked or whatever. We could think of dozens of them very quickly, right? It's not hard. But in the design world, the fine arts market, other collectible markets or other cultural markets, we don't talk about the art that way because it's supposed to be more serious. But truly, most people have one great idea. Not that they stop making things for the rest of their life. That one idea hit the marketplace really big. And maybe it's something in for design for, like, since I mentioned Nolan Herman Miller, that's continuously in production, or from a designer, that one body of work that lasted a decade. And it's not that they don't make art for the rest of their life or design or craft or whatever they want to call themselves. It's just that it isn't as publicly successful to people like us that we see from the magazines or the blogs now or online, which is very fair, but we don't celebrate those people and I think all of those people should be celebrated. All of them, because they did it. What are the odds
of contributing even one thing, right? To the
And it's so like you have to do more, you have to keep up, you have to be better, you have to get to the next. But the odds of you even being able to have one.
Zesty, I've thought about this a lot actually, because on the designer side of things, you think about this, if you can make just one contribution, you know what I mean? But the marketplace doesn't really, they don't think about that, a lot of ways.
No, because it's fast.
It's fast.
Exactly. And but so all the stories I'm telling, so what the same story goes back to the B team. You can become yourself, be yourself. But we don't normally just celebrate ourselves. I think most people have a hard time celebrating themselves because they're still like, I'm not there, I'm not good enough, I'm not whatever. Mm-hmm. So by me telling these other stories about how we started to form R&Company and why we did it is me trying to communicate this to try to get other people to go and do it. Mm-hmm. I used to call them baby steps. If you could take a couple baby steps, you'd start to get across the floor, right? And they're hard. Now I do the same analogy with inches. Could you move 1 inch forward a day? Mm-hmm. 30 days, you'd be 30 more inches forward. That's actually a little bit of distance. Mm-hmm. If you did that for a year, that's pretty long. Yeah. Right. And so it's creating that kind of optimism. It's creating people, or us, or me, myself as well, to be able to continuously be able to think like that there has to be a next, it will move forward, but yet these things have to be celebrated. So then as we get into creating a program, the program for today at R&Company for many, many years, maybe 2 decades now, maybe a little more, has been the idea that without the past, we can't have a future. And I think we're the only gallery to do this in depth. where if it wasn't for these historical things that look maybe really different than what the contemporaries are that we're representing, it couldn't be here. And I think all too often media runs so quickly forward to next, but like why and how come? Where should it be placed? What's the interest? And I think one of the things that we've tried to do that we are not always successful with and never will be is trying to find those people that we can then generate, work with, and deal with that way to get them to a longer stream of success for themselves, not necessarily success for the public, right? Yes, we will always have some people bigger, and in any time you represent a stable of people, certain things will become more popular at different times.
Correct.
Or maybe for a long time. And there's no other way. It hit right now because of whatever, and hopefully for all of the right reasons. So then going backwards a little bit and how we built R&Company, when we opened, we started to print catalogs on these historical designers. And it was great because then people took it seriously. People wanted to buy these catalogs, which was fantastic, which just pushed us on to do more and more. And eventually then we created a whole publishing department over time. And it's something we're really committed to, is saving, if it's historical, to save the history. If it's contemporary, to create future history, right? But put the two together in the same room. When we take a 20 or 30-something-year-old or a 40-year-old and put them in a room with our archives now, and they can dig in and think about their life in a way that they normally wouldn't have, but they're going to be showing in our gallery because we have these archival things. We have tens of thousands of things in our archives on purpose now, is that they all of a sudden maybe think, oh, maybe someone would be interested in 50 years. All too often we hear these sayings or these stories, oh, you should have called me 4 years ago. I threw everything out because nobody cared. Right? And it's not that, and there's only so much we can do, right? That's the problem. So the biggest enemy, the hardest ship of ever, and it won't go away, is time. There's so many more things we could take on, so many more avenues we could explore, so many other places on earth we want to go, so many other ways we want to try to connect things. And that's what we tried to do. So as we grew with R&Company, Jeff Zimmerman became the first contemporary designer we brought in. And he was obviously a friend of ours because he was on the B team. Right. He had moved back to America, and he was making all this glass that he didn't want to make. And he said, oh, I've started to make my own art again. I don't even care if you sell it, but I want to get some reactions. Do you mind if I put it out in the gallery? Because we're friends. And no one had ever asked us before. and we're like, sure. And it fit, and it was colorful and bright, and we're showing more of mid-century furniture, was more brown, right? Not so many colors, rosewood, those kinds of colors. And it worked. And literally overnight on our answering machine,
there was we'd like inquiring about the pieces.
We basically sold everything that he put out.
Wow.
Because people walked by at night and started to leave messages that they wanted to buy it.
Wow.
From the gallery window. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think we should do this.
We're onto something here, yeah.
Here we go.
And it also taps into what you're passionate about as well. I mean, from your days at the B team and Pilchuck and all that. Yeah, so it started to fuse it. Wow. So Jeff was the first. And then you were like, well, maybe we should start doing contemporary exhibitions as well in parallel, or
it took time.
It took time.
I don't think we've ever rushed. And I think that's a really nice thing to say.
Yeah.
And
maybe we were in a time where you didn't have to as much, or something.
Yeah. But even now, we're still not rushing.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. There's plenty of other people I would like to show or represent. Some I can't, and some I never will be able to. Some I don't think is right. Sometimes we watch people for 5 years before speaking to them. It's not about the rush. It's about, where are these people going? How are they developing? Is it right for our program? Right. Can we offer something they don't have? Right. And I don't think most people think about it that way. So we built this around Jeff Zimmerman. How do you represent a contemporary designer? And then, of course, as we're starting to do it, it gets to be fast and furious. And a lot of those people have gone away over time, which is a necessary part of being in a marketplace, and which is okay. So we decided that we would just, have a slower approach. Could we really build this up? And what demands do we have to meet, because they have ideas and they're living where everyone else wasn't living. So we're representing what we think is what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And so we just slowly started to build it up and realized Jeff liked doing commissions, and how do we develop commissions? And And he started to do lighting. He was asked by a very, very famous art dealer to do an illuminated sculpture. And that's what got him on the whole thing. And it was,
I see.
And it was,
they were just sculptures before. They were just
yeah, they were
objects.
just sculptures, just objects.
Right.
And what is the difference between a design object and a sculptural object that sits on the same table, right?
Yeah. For me, there's no difference.
There's no difference.
Yeah. This is a big,
and these people like that just started to come forward. All of a sudden we're doing shows with Emmanuel Perrotin with Jeff. We've partnered,
okay.
yeah, or other such. And we're doing shows with Sean Kelly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We're doing shows with Robert Miller with Jeff. He's in a group show there and elsewhere. It goes on, right? This is like, wow. So we're already crossing over these boundaries of trying to blur them or not seeing a difference. That was fantastic. That was really good. And then, so we just built the career of Jeff slowly. And Jeff was amazing because he knew a lot of his own restrictions. And that, I think, is a really important thing.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
He knew what he could and couldn't do. He knew he would, if we needed him to work a certain way, and that's the way we needed to run the gallery because that was the business, and he wasn't going to be good at that, he'd be like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to force myself to do this. And that got us to listen. Like I said, if you keep your eyes and sound open, right, you might get to hear these other things. And that's something of his I really heard. And I was like, oh, maybe we can take some of this on, or we could be that, or we can help. And then that's how we partnered instead of just sold his work.
I see.
There's a big difference of selling work and partnering with people to grow with them.
Right.
It's two very different things, and I don't think most people understand the difference.
Tell me.
I think a lot of people that show in certain places, their work is just sold. Our goal is to try to build a career. So how long does it take to figure out how to build a career? I think it takes 3 years to really get to know the person, to figure them out. Are they really can make one piece a year, or do they have to make 100 pieces a year? That's two different animals to take on.
Very much, yeah.
Right? And we have some of both on purpose. But, if there's 100, well, that's a lot more work. We got to get out there to keep up with them. Mm-hmm. Or how do you function that? How do you get that out there compared to the person that is only making a few pieces in a year? Mm-hmm. How do you represent that? So that would be the first way of how we would think about working with people. The second way, over those first couple of years, well, what is the market that right now for this work? Is it us in New York? Is it Asia? South America? What is it? Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be anywhere, right? How do we find it? What do we think is right? Oh, this is what you're thinking. Here's what we're thinking. We go and start to test.
And this was before the fairs really started to proliferate, correct? I mean,
yeah, there were other fairs, but not like this. They were much smaller. And we were testing, right? And testing it out, and then we'd find a way, or find a marketplace, or find it. Normally, we never have the person that bought it, the friend of the friends of the friends all came in and bought the same thing. That doesn't. Yes, that happens sometimes, but the tastemaker would lead us on, and a different kind of tastemaker would come in from a different part of the earth that didn't know the tastemaker that had already bought. Mm-hmm. And we've always been able to, because of the value or the level of presentation. And Evan is the exhibition designer, and he's really good at it. Mm-hmm. And maybe because of it, that attracts people to stay, think, look for a longer period of time so we can have a discussion. The archives that I was talking to you about became the resource for us to communicate to client, to try to prove to them that we knew what we were talking about instead of making up a story. We might have not been able to read finish on the page, but we could show you that was whatever chair from this Finnish designer. Right. So then we knew what we were doing.
Legitimized.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially in New York when no one had enough time in the day.
Right.
Right. So it was done initially to save time and to educate ourselves, because there was no other place for us in the world for us to get this education. So if we take that part of the knowledge and then figure out people, well, then this is where we started to build a staff around what it is to represent somebody, not what it is to sell somebody. Like I said.
No, I like this. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I think showrooms tend to sell, work.
Or certain galleries just sell work.
You're right.
So
yes.
Look, to have a marketplace, you need two types of galleries. Mm-hmm. You need someone that has the passion like I do. I can't hide it. I don't try to hide it. I try to exude it. And you have the other side of it that only will make money off what's become popular in market. Only interested in selling what's already there because they see value, or it has value, perceived value, is value. So those two people have to be in the same arena all the time. You can't have one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work. You would not have a healthy market.
Okay.
So those are the two parts of a marketplace that have to happen on a base, big chunks. Not that we can't get minutia in different ways. Of course we could. But on a base level, that's why the marketplaces work all the time. You have the first dairy, the secondary, right? Maybe even a third dairy eventually. But and that's what creates these fairs. If you look at most of these dealers there, it might be easier to spot in the art world. People that only sell the secondary at fairs compared to who's trying to represent an up-and-coming artist. There's less design dealers, so you maybe don't see it that way as much. But it's the same marketplace. And so then the second goal for working with people is, could we get them into year 11 to be more successful than 1 through 10? What are the odds? Almost zero.
The answer is 0?
Almost 0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Because, like we said, most people have one great idea that hits.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right? And it's not that we don't try.
I have in my notes, I wanted to ask you how a 30-year career is done these days. How to stay relevant for 30 years today.
Well,
I mean, not, but I'm just because it's coming up, but I think that's a really interesting question. So was Jeff that case?
Jeff is that case.
Jeff is that case.
Jeff is, we've shown him for 25, 28 years.
But at year 11, was he able to, stay in the game?
He's always continuously been able to grow.
And that is because
he changes what it is just enough, or comes out with the next thing at these sort of serendipitous moments of time. Yeah. And it keeps happening. And he's, like I said, he knew his own rules. He knew what he couldn't do. He knows what he can do.
How much dialogue are you guys having with the designers about that, about these moments in their careers where it's like, hey, we've done pretty well. You've been pretty hot for a long time, and now,
Well, each one's very different. Some don't want to chat, and some want to talk all the time, right? Because they're individuals,
right?
So then we're running a talent agency instead of a gallery, because certain people need 50 hours and certain people need 1, which is fair. Right, this is what you have to develop to figure out what to take on. There are no 2 in the same.
You're right.
Right. Yeah. So we have to do this. So and also sometimes we as humans come up with other things we want to do. 10 years of doing something that worked. Maybe year 11, they're like, okay, I want to be more this, which is very fair as well, which should be recognized, right? Mm-hmm. Not everyone's going to want to do this forever. When we look back at overview shows from the past, and you look at like things from the 50s or 80s or 70s, what happened to those people? Some you can find out a lot about, some you can find nothing about on. Right? It makes sense. It's natural.
What if they've built, teams and infrastructure and all that around that, and it's, hard to let that go or say, listen, I want to change, but I have all this infrastructure now.
Well, I mean, that's partially who they become. They will make that choice themselves.
Right.
Sometimes it's happened to us where we don't want it to happen. We're like, this is a really good thing. And they're like, well, I can't do this anymore, which is also fair. And no one recognizes that either. Most of it doesn't happen that way. But all these people have ideas and thoughts and process, and we have to figure out how to work with them. And it's also the same thing, that maybe they're going to make something really different that doesn't fit our program anymore, because that's where their hopes and their desires went, or their ideas. And we encourage that. But if we're not the right person for it, we're not the right person for it. We don't want to represent what we can't help them with, right? The only thing I give to people today that we try to take on or that we're interested in developing is I promise them one thing. All the rest of it doesn't matter, is that we'll try.
I don't know if this is sensitive or not, or if you're free to talk about it. Where do the Haas brothers fit into this idea?
They are now getting to that longevity where they've been able to sustain, grow, keep coming up with interesting things. But it's look, they have something you and I can never have. There's 2 of them that are synced with, and this hive mind is incredible. That we will never be able to achieve that way. The twin power is real, and there are different styles that come together from how they understand each other. Blows my mind away, and I've seen this in other twins as well. Okay, right. So I think they have an advantage that most
we would never know the advantage they have. Yeah,
that we can't know, and I think that's one of the great things about them. And I think What's so accepting is, Nikki's more the funky, the sculptor. He's creating these cartoonish characters. And Simon is like a mad scientist. But yet they figured out how to marry the two. So yet at first the work might seem simple, but it's really complicated and then intellectual and maybe scientific or something else at the same time. And you're like, whoa, that's interesting. That really interests me. Am I interested in someone else like the Haas brothers? No way. So our gallery, our program is, we're not nationalistic. We're not stylistic. We're not materialistic on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want I don't want to try to find a second Haas brothers. It's not our interest. I want to find something else completely different from them that complements the program.
You have some wildly different art. I mean, Serban, it's completely wildly different than the Haas brothers or Katie
So all to push the boundaries is what is design. Mm-hmm. Where Jeff is so different from the Haas brothers, right? At the same time, or Jolie with 3D printed ceramics, where almost everyone else works by hand, right? Fits our program, fits the idea of what we're doing. Joyce Lynn, who uses her dual degree from furniture making at RISD, but has a dual degree of geometry at the same time, gets us to see things in ways that I've never seen, and none of her pieces are functional, and even though they're chairs, basically. So there's been a few that are functional, but the majority of them are not, right? I love all this. I love having that difference. I love having that dialogue.
I feel like this comes from the fact that, you're an artist, you both were artists, and that you understand the journey of the artist. And so you're able to say, okay, like, how can we build something around these personalities, this particular creativity that, we don't want to put limits on, we want to support. I mean, from my perspective, that's where it generates from.
Yeah, there are no limits. The only limits are the ones we put on ourselves. And this is what I think more of us as a community is doing a really bad job at. We limit ourselves all the time. We don't raise our voice. We're not bringing up the community. We're not making it bigger as a culture. We're not making sure that the next generation can survive. Like I said, I walked into like a pool that was dying and had to recreate this whole world, Evan and I, to make something happen. Right? I so much want some young person to walk up to me today and say, like, I'm going to open my own gallery and it's going to be better than yours. Right? I love that. I would love to hear that. I want other people to take these chances. I want other people to show perspective that I can't even think about or would not know how to find. I want it to go on well beyond us. I want this to become a giant
Do you think that's
culture.
happening?
Oh, I do. Yes, I do. I do like some of the younger galleries that are coming up. I do like how they're trying and presenting their own ideas. I'm very happy about that, and we help them. I'll buy from some of them. I want to collect some of their things. I really like these things. Like, I think also people have rules or secrets or something, and I don't know. For Evan and I think the basis is either we can find it for you or we can sell it to you. Nothing else matters. Right? Or we can commission it maybe.
Yeah.
None of it mattered. Everything else is just talk. And talk takes up a lot of time in life. I'm very happy that I woke up today. Exceptionally happy. But I also know I'm one day closer to death. Every day that I wake up. I have no idea how much more time I have. All I know is that there's so much more I want to do. What else am I going to do today to make it that much better? And how else can I, hopefully with the people we work with, have them in that kind of frame of mind? How can we do it that much better? How could we get to the next goal or accomplish this or get it out there? And they don't always work, right? At all. And that and we don't, and we should in our design community talk about failure. Failure should be a great thing to talk about.
Wow, that doesn't happen too much in the design world,
Yeah, most creative worlds.
Right.
But when you sit and you listen to the person talk about their program, their life's work, and they'll talk to you about failure. They'll talk to you about how hard it was to figure this out, and then we don't.
What have been some of you guys' failures, you feel?
Oh, everything you can think of. Everything. There's nothing we haven't failed at. We fail every day. My sales staff wakes up this morning knowing most of what they're going to ask for is going to fail every day, but they still get up. And they still find a way to accomplish the goal to get us to the next day or the next week or the next month, right? We've taken radical chances at things that haven't gone good. But what people remember normally are the things that went exceptionally well. You could use sports metaphors very quickly to prove this. You remember the people that become number one are the best in their field, but you don't realize they're number one only by probably a very, very tiny margin, right? And we're not playing the game to become number one. I never want to be the best at anything, ever. I only want to become better. I want to keep searching, developing, and growing. If I'm the best, I have to go down. If I hit the top of the hill and get there and I say I'm the best and I declare I'm the best, it's not in my interest at all. I have too much still to learn, too much to give, too much other wants to go and find and seek out. That is my goal of what I want to do with the creativity and the purpose or the exposure we can bring to people and wherever else, and how far we can take things that we haven't done before, breaking barriers down.
Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah. So to get back into the artist, year 11 is really hard.
I'm on year 12. I realized it.
Yeah. And it's hard to still be that creative. It's hard when we start as entrepreneurs, and no artist looks at themselves normally as an entrepreneur, but you're all entrepreneurs because you took the guts to be in the uncommon 1% to try an idea. But you don't realize that.
Zesty, it's funny because as I've entered year 11 and 12, which has been recent, I've been saying to, colleagues or whatever, that no one tells you what the career feels like 10 years in, or what happens in, year 11 to year 20, because there's just not a lot of people to tell you what happens. I don't have a mentor to kind of tell me that. So you're one of the first to kind of acknowledge that difficulty that happens. And, I don't know if it happens to every creative, but it certainly, is a thing, especially when you've had early success. Yeah,
and most things in culture last no longer than a decade.
Right.
Most TV shows don't go on more than a decade.
Right, but I came up in the age of the Richard Serras and the Matthew Barneys and the artists that I really loved, and they've had long careers. And
right.
Those are
But they're the lottery ticket winners.
Yeah,
and that's not how you perceive that.
I don't perceive it that way just because they're masters of what they do.
Jackson Pollock with his drip paintings. I think there's only 20 something or 30 something out there in the whole world. They were made for a very short amount of time. Robert
Rothko's
Indiana,
too, exactly.
and his love sculpture,
exactly,
right? And he or Jasper.
Yeah,
Johns,
but I think society could admire those works over a longer period of time for some reason. Right now, everything has been shortened. The time span of attention has been shortened, so it's. I don't know that can exist.
But exist how? Maybe it exists for a gallery to sell to clientele that want to live a certain way. Maybe publicly, from what we see in our 7-second doom scrolling to find something that's going to make us happy for the dopamine hit we need that only lasts 7 seconds, we're not seeing it as much, or we've seen so much of it we already forgot about it by the time we've gotten to the 300th thing that we've scrolled by. But I think for clients and the people or institutions we're working with, that is really there. That is what's really happening. The stuff that surrounds us becomes even more important at a time like this than ever. So in that sense, I think that's really on.
In 2020, you were asked by ArtNet a question, and you said, the market will keep growing as the world is trying to define itself in the age of billionaires. That was in 2020. That line kind of stayed with me when I was doing the research, and I... now that we're 6 years past 2020, I'm wondering if you still feel that way and why you felt that way in that time.
Yeah, I think it's proven throughout time that culture, the artisan's craft, defines the taste of the new wealth. And that's what I was getting at with that quote. So a billionaire can have a private jet, but the billionaire next door has a private jet too, just painted in a different color, but it's the same jet. So it's not unique enough. And a private jet will never be unique enough. Yes, your interior can be a little different than the one next door, but there's only so much you can do because of the restrictions of weight, right? So you can't really do that. So it doesn't show yourself off in the right way. So most of the super wealth I know doesn't have taste. They need to buy taste, right? Like they always have. How can we prove this? Let's go back to the 1880s when the millionaires emerged in America, or really started to emerge into the early 1900s. You can look at a group of mansions like the Newport mansions as defining that moment of taste of wealth. What happened to that moment of taste of wealth through the 20th century? It became a trickle-down theory of what people wanted, right? So the phrase, I want to become a millionaire, becomes something that we've heard, I don't know, millions of times, right? Of course, right? But the trickle-down theory ends at MTV with like a show like Cribs, with a B or C rate movie or sports star showing off their stucco palaces.
Yeah, showing off their cause sculptures or whatever.
Right, trying to be giant.
Right.
Of what it is, right or wrong, good or bad, that's not for me to say.
Mm-hmm.
But there's your keeping up with the Jones idea.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that we now have billionaires can't be any different.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what exactly looks like yet, but I can tell you it hasn't happened. And I can tell you it's about to happen. Because now as we drive through and deeper into culture, there's no choice as the world emerges that the moment has to be defined for this to happen. All artisans do this even if they don't want to do this. If they're accepted into that elitism, or that's who ends up buying their work, or if they sold it and it's resold and resold and resold and that's where it ends up, they are part of that. Is that maybe what their original intentions were? Maybe not. Maybe so. But once they've sold it, it carries on to how then people have collected these things. I think we're at that moment of time where craft and design are going to define the taste of the new wealth.
Is it why do you feel that way? I mean, I'm trying to dissect it even further. It's like, is it because we're entering in an era where craft, the handmade, is going to be what's prized over this kind of AI revolution that's happening?
For sure. That would be a first great thing to look at.
Yeah.
Every time we've gone through great human evolutions, I don't know if it will be great for everybody, but eventually this is the way the world is going to, we can't run away from this, right?
Correct.
Good, bad,
right.
We don't know yet, right? Y2K never happened in 2000 either, right? That all the computers would stop because they couldn't change the big hoax, so yeah. I mean, that's a little bit of more humor.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the age of the millionaire, which was another great defining moment because of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution brought so much else that we take for granted today as a regular life. Could you imagine all these things? Yeah, or most people maybe imagine 50 years ago how many people took a hot shower every day.
Yeah.
Right? It's really that kind of theory. So in the 1880, whenever, I don't know what year, let's use the cotton gin as the example. Before that, let's say it took 100 people to pick a field of cotton. Mm-hmm. The cotton gin comes out, it takes 10 people now to run the cotton gin.
Right.
What happened to the other 90? They didn't die. We know that for a fact because we would read about that. What did they go and do?
New industries.
Right. So we go back as technology takes over. What do we as humans do? We go back to our primal instincts.
Right.
We go back to our hands.
Mm-hmm.
This moment will be the same thing. The hand, once again, will define the wealth and it will define the taste of culture. It doesn't matter if we start to live in tiny houses because we can't afford the bigger houses we once had because the costs get too high. We're still going to be surrounded by things that we love that are going to be sensual. Mm-hmm. And sensualism is something that's, I think, a core instinct in humans to raise our dopamine, to raise our adrenal glands, to do all these other things. Things that are made by hand are beautifully imperfect. That is the sensualism of things that are made by hand. Mm-hmm. There will always be an attraction. So at a time when technology takes us on and the computer can do so much more, or technology can do so much more, the handmade things are going to take off.
I totally agree. And in fact, I've had to kind of think about this as a career and as a designer. You think, well, what is the longevity of this career? And, I've realized that I think we're in a better place to have longevity because of that fact. And it's something I think, we'll see how it plays out, but I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's already growing. I think it's massively growing. Look, I really think we're on the cusp of a major revolution of this. I think
of craft.
Yeah. How many art galleries are showing ceramics?
Oh yeah, I know.
Right.
I've mentioned. Yeah, I noticed
right?
that.
So it's just a marketing thing right now. But why are they taking this in now? It's for the reasons we're talking. Right.
Do you think that we're at the precipice of something big for collectible design as well in terms of this?
Completely.
Because we're still a pretty small, industry.
Yeah, but no one writes comparisons. We don't get any criticism.
I know.
We're the critics.
I don't know.
Right? Why doesn't someone say my stuff sucks?
Well, why don't we have a real robust secondary market for contemporary?
And then I can rebuttal against them and say, no, it doesn't, right? right? And or why is it so interesting, right? Where's on a base level, good or bad, right or wrong, non-concept, non-concept. We don't get enough of this. This is something we should have more of. So if you want to do comparison of collectible design more to the art market, Design Miami's year 20, right? As we know. What year is Art Basel? 50 something?
Yeah.
Something like that. I can't remember. Whatever.
Yeah.
More than double, almost triple our age,
Yes.
right? Let's say it's about triple. What's the comparison of where Art Basel was in year 20?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we start there, right? You want to build a market. I don't want to become the art market. That's not my idea at all. I just want to use it as something that I can learn from. Because I
What
market
sense do
myself.
you not want to be the art market? Because I mean, it's
I don't think it needs to be that big. I don't want to run business on that level personally.
right.
I mean, if someone else wants to run business and be the whatever, I'm all for it. I just know how I want to do it. I want to use it as a model that could benefit us.
Right.
Right.
That's the model that I look at all the time when I compare it to the design world.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm always curious about is why the secondary market hasn't really taken off. And I mean for contemporary, and if that's kind of stopping the industry from being able to grow, because at some point people need to know that the things that they're purchasing at very high prices have some sort of resale value or some, value, because not everyone's educated, not everyone's buying for the love of the piece.
I think also over time with the contemporary, one of the things we're seeing is maybe people like what they bought.
And they just are like, I want to keep it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For certain designers.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think certain of these designers have had other careers change, like Ron Arad.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, he was a giant.
Yeah.
He's gone off to do various other things now. His secondary market isn't really that good.
Right.
That's not his fault. He did what he wanted to do. The secondary, or whoever the deal is for the secondary, would have to back that up, or how the public perceives something. Mm-hmm. That's perception. That's perception that someone like us could take on as a dealer to try to change, that we see something inherently more worth on the secondary market.
Kind of like what you did with some of the Brazilian designers that you guys.
Yeah, but that was different though.
Was it?
Yeah, because Brazil was under military rule or dictatorship until 1985 or so, maybe a little later. But then nobody had an export license. It was against the law to export.
Oh, really?
So it's a very different story.
Okay.
So once again, this time we'd gone to the Strand and bought a book on Oscar Niemeyer. And we looked and just theorized that if he built Utopia, they wouldn't import all the design to sit on. The local design would have to match the scale of the architecture, right? They would have to go together. And who were these people? We'd found 3 pictures through all of our archives because nothing was let out. And we simply just started to ask questions. Do you go to Brazil? Do you know anyone who goes to Brazil? Can you introduce us to anyone? Can you bring me something back? Can you find me a book? Right? And that was it, and it worked. And then we went and we got there, and it was like, oh my God, this country's giant, like the size of America, and there's so much more here. And what is an A-rate piece? What's a B? Who are these designers? We didn't even know.
Right.
And we had to then just dissect it. And then I can't read Portuguese. And we started to collect the ephemera. We started to find out and ask questions. Are they still alive? We didn't even know, right? Oh, did you know anyone worked at the atelier? Is the secretary still here? Whatever, anything, anybody. Lo and behold, by asking and never stopping asking, we could introduce the people that led us to the next, We knew we had discovered something in a way that was bigger than rediscovering a person.
Right.
You can always rediscover a person. And that's going to happen every year.
I mean, you guys really brought that to the mat, Brazilian design too.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and now it's like shorthand for like, oh, of course, Brazilian. Yeah. But it's really started with you guys. I mean, yeah.
Only because we asked a question.
Right.
Only because we thought that there was something more there for a very basic reason. And then, I've been going there for over 20 years. I don't have to go there as much now. But it's still a big interest of ours. Mm-hmm. And we knew from early on that if we were going to do this, we would have to build a massive collection, because the other things we had done early on, then all of a sudden we got outpriced if we wanted to create a market, right? And that's what we set up to do. We set up to try to do Brazilian design with longevity in mind, not quickness in mind, right? So we could go and then dig deeper, find the more interesting stories, present in a little different way. So now what you see is the world has rushed in, and there's not as much A-rate stuff as there should be, of course, as always. So a C-rate piece might be selling for a B+ or an A- price. And those things will just fall backwards. over time, as then those can't be found. And then eventually the people that held on, that didn't sell or still love their things, some of these other things will open up and the market will settle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the moment we're in time for. That's what's happening right now for Brazilian design. And most of the people that rushed in can't afford it anymore because they outpriced themselves. Right. So we built the luxury of time into thinking, finding who we work with, how we've developed relationships. Once again, slow, no rush, steady. We knew that things would develop. I didn't realize it would ever get this big. Mm-hmm. But yet now we have the value of time to sit and watch the market develop and then push it again in the way that we want to forward. How do we deal with the fakes? How does someone trust me? Mm-hmm. You know, how does that person who will never be my client because they run and buy something that they should have asked me about first? My job is to protect my client. And I don't think most gallerists speak like this, but, you know, or talk about it. But I have 3 different clients in my business. Clients, one that buy things, the talent are my clients, and my staff are my clients. Mm-hmm. I run a 3-ring circus, and I have to wear 3 different hats all day long to communicate to those 3 sectors of people. And this is what then makes this effective. And my number one goal if someone's buying something is try to protect them and work with them for the long term. My personal goal is to be able to work with families for into 3 generations of them successfully. Obviously, now that we've been around for almost 30 years, we've worked with 2, not quite 3. But that's my goal, is for the people that want to collect on this level to work with longevity where it's passed down to the next generations.
Is that where you're seeing that that generation that's going to come up and collect, that they're focused on craft, that they want that? Is that where you're seeing that?
Yeah, I'm seeing it in everything. People's tastes will change sometimes too. The one person that most likely won't ever be my client is the one that walks in that tells me they like everything, because we're not nationalistic or stylistic, right? The person that comes in that grows with us for over 25 years can have a bit of everything because they grew with us because they wanted to. And that's pretty special. Because then we're helping, we're growing together, we're thinking, developing, cherishing in the same kind of way. Where all that next generation will go is going to be really different. You know, after the baby boomers, the generations get really that much smaller. So the next 3 generations combined, maybe, I don't even think all 3 of us make up the baby boomers. But then are people, where are they going to head into their time of want for how they're going to dwell? Becomes a big question. And how much are they going to inherit of all the stuff the baby boomers bought? Where does all that stuff go?
I don't know. Where the transition is happening now.
It's going to be harsh for some people. Not for the buyer of it, but for the people that I don't know how the market's going to absorb it all to have a secondary for it. You might have a great 1,000-piece art collection, but no museum is taking that. Even if you offer to build a building and hire the staff. Really? Well, then they have to do it for the next. Is that the business of a museum? They're going to want your 50 best pieces, or maybe 100 if you're very far, something like that. The odds get fewer far between. So it will have to come out to the secondary market again.
So they're going to be just massive oversaturation.
I think so.
On top of a seemingly oversaturated primary market.
I think so. I don't know how else it can't happen. So I think some things, I think there's going to be a fortunate thing for the people that could never afford something they've always wanted.
Yeah, maybe they get a, right.
No, they're going to win. And that they're going to be the ones that save.
They'll be like you guys in the, you know, when you guys got the stuff on that transition time period.
They're going to get to live the way they want to live. That's going to be amazing from this. Yes. And there's going to be some of them like the Lalondes that just keep reaching new and new and new heights.
$30 million.
Yeah, that's not going to stop, because that's a new market buying who already lived with this work. That is the secondary.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone else will catch them. Right?
Is that exciting to you that's happening?
Oh, I think it should. I think it's warranted for people that have money. I don't, so in comparison to us growing like the art market, so the art market is widely reported every year doing somewhere between
60 million. 60 and 70 million.
Yeah, every year. Up to 90 billion a year, right? That's huge. How big do you think the design market is?
I don't know. I've always tried to figure that out.
We're not even 1%.
I agree. I know.
So if I said to you, could we be 1% of that market? You're going to say yes without thinking. What if I said, could we be 3% of that market of dollar volume? Would you say yes?
I don't
Possible,
know.
maybe?
I don't know that the infrastructure's there yet. I don't know if the collector base is there yet to support that.
We don't have enough zeros attached to what we're selling.
I think that it's because there's not a strong secondary market. Then that's why that we can't reach those numbers.
Well, maybe it's also because we don't get to criticism. Maybe,
correct, yeah.
How do we bring up younger curators to become, how do we give voice instead of making money all the time? And giving voice might then bring the intellect of attraction to other buyers on a different way. That would then maybe help institutions. The institutions are getting bigger in what they've started to collect for design, and they're filling in massive gaps. That's a pretty amazing thing to see. But how do they bring up the next generation of curators? How do we help find them to create this voice? How do we make sure periodicals or these kinds of critical writings keep happening? Without that, then none of this matters. If we don't find those two things, right? So then why aren't we investing more into people like that? That's become a huge part of our program with like the Objects USA shows, right? We're giving voice to people that have done things, that have curated things, but don't have a voice where there's a periodical coming along or curating a massive thing about a country because it doesn't exist in our country. In some ways, we shouldn't be allowed to do the show we're doing, right? It should be at some great national institution.
Museum. That's right.
Right? And this should be the pride of something much bigger than us.
Cooper Hewitt with the triennial has a chance to do that, and they don't really successfully do that. Why isn't there a biennial in the design industry? Right. Why?
And the Cooper Hewitt does it to the level that they want to, but maybe they can't get it out there to the way they want to because they're a government.
But yeah, that's exactly why.
Right. And so they have tried, but then why aren't other ones across the country following? Or why aren't they partnering, like exchanging? Like I said, there's no secrets, right? To say like, oh, here is a voice of America.
Why doesn't MAD do it?
So many. There's so much. So many people. So we took this on because we knew this voice was missing. Yeah. Right. And it's not about what I like in that show. It's the point of view of the curator that came up with the concept that we follow. And that's how we're guided. And we're giving people a chance. And we're going to print a book. And we're going to do this. And now we have perpetuity. The book is my only perpetuity, not my building.
Yeah.
Right? Most people still don't throw away books.
Right.
Right? There's a value there in a different way. The touch, again, going back to that primal instinct, that feel, that sensualism of holding an object, I think is coming back even to reading.
Speaking of the building.
Yeah.
The Tribeca space, you guys ended up putting it on the market.
Yes.
It's been talked about, it's been written about, so we don't have to talk about that much, but is it because of the structure of the market with the design fairs and this going on that the decision was kind of like, we need to prioritize that and being more in the fair circuit or continuing to do the fairs because you guys are heavily done the fairs over the years? That was part of what I read.
Good question. It's not about the fairs at all.
Okay.
We have 30,000 square feet between our three locations in New York City.
That's a lot.
Yeah. We do not need 30,000 square feet to run our program. One of the things that we've also really started to do is we have so many external exhibitions happening, museum tours happening, and other things like this that it's taking up too much of our time. We don't need that much space in New York City. And we are this late spring, summer, going to open up our warehouse for the first time ever.
That's cool.
And we're going to invite the public in. You still have to get a pass to get into the Navy Yard, but it's going to be open. And then we might even start to do shows there, but we're going to show people things we've had for almost 30 years. We're going to mix things in a way together, and it's going to be in the warehouse. And you're going to see the depth of the thousands of things we've collected. And we get to do something like that we've never done. There will be a really great name for this that we'll create it as a program eventually as we build it. And it's something we've wanted to do for years. But the opportunities are now regionalizing in other ways that's not an art circuit. So we're becoming effective in different regions of the world that are taking up our time. We're not doing as many fairs either on purpose.
I noticed. Yeah.
So it's not that we're against the fairs. That's not the issue at all. It's the value of time, once again. If we keep having too many
other kinds of institutional type shows happening, and that's taking up our time. Well, we don't have the time to go to fair, but then we're still working with a community outside of the gallery, except that we're not somewhere for 5 days, right? It's not that we won't do a bunch of fairs in a year again, because maybe we will. But right now we're finding that the expansion of us and these other kinds of shows and the opportunities, it's wild where we get to go across the country or to other parts of the world right now. And the things we're getting to work on. These are dreams that we've had.
Is it because you think that during the stage of your career where you guys were at the fairs all the time, that time of expansion kind of created a way where now it's not as necessary for your business? I mean, because a lot of people say that it's absolutely necessary at this stage.
Well, I think that was the cachet of the old world, the pre-pandemic world.
Right.
That you must, to grow, you have to be bigger. You have to have a gallery here. You have to go to LA. You got to move to Miami. You got to have something in London. Whatever. Blah blah blah. No, it's all bullshit. It's straight up. It's how you want to run your program. And yes, could we meet someone new tomorrow somewhere at some other fair? Of course we could. Could I meet someone new because I opened my doors today? Of course we could. It's the value of time as we're doing projects. When we regionalize and go into these neighborhoods, now we're meeting the neighborhood instead of a person from that neighborhood.
Right.
That has depth in a whole other way and is not fast and furious and has slowed down to the pace so we can develop. That art circuit, I don't think, is working as good as it once did.
No.
Nobody.
No, and the first contraction has left a lot of people, failing. A lot of people have failed with this first contraction.
Yeah, or overcommitted. That creates other debts, right? And maybe the bigger problem I think we're having is before the pandemic, I would agree with you 100%. After the pandemic, my clients didn't come back to Design Miami. They aged out. They did it for 15 times, 18 times, or however many times, They really did it. But now with the technology, they can just get the email. They'll just buy from the picture. We know what they like, right? We know most of their tastes really, really well. And so, yes.
Do the designers demand, though? Do you find that they are on top of you guys being like, hey, I want to show my work in the new Design Miami that's coming up in the Middle East, this type of thing, Paris?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But that's us running a program for different people in a different way. And we think certain things need this exposure and certain things don't, right? So how would you go about putting a program around that or a stat around that? How could you prove that instead of I want?
Right.
And does the I want, is that the winner? It's never the winner.
Right.
Right? We're running a business. We
Do you
all
feel
have
like sometimes you guys could lose some of your designers or artists for that reason because they want the more exposure? Yeah.
Sometimes, but you always lose someone that thinks the grass is greener on the other side, right? That's never going to go away. But then again, if we're meeting what they want to do and we can create what they want to create and we get to have a partnership and grow together, then it becomes a different story, right? Then we can figure those things out. Well, where should we focus? Well, maybe we should be in Texas right now and not at Design Miami. That's fair, but why? And the why should have some reasoning behind it. Or maybe we should be at Design Miami, right? And so, but I think that's how you'd want to grow a business. And how do you quench the I wants, which never go away? But how do you put that in the right perspective of what we can and can't do for you or want to do? And how do you create value? And yeah, it's always a risk when you have to say no to something someone else might want that isn't fitting your program. You don't have the extra cash to spend on it. And the biggest problem of being a dealer in a creative industry is you only have so much cash every week, right?
Yeah, and you never know what the following month is going to look like. Right, it's always a up and down.
Yeah, and you have to be able to ride that out and figure that out. That's the hardest part. Do fairs come back? That would be a fair question. That would be a good question. I think regionally they come back. Design Miami, you have young Europeans coming now to the fair, but none of the old super Europeans were there, right? That was really interesting this year. That was fascinating. I think that's good. And Paris is their home base for those French dealers. Good for them. I would be very excited about Design Miami Paris if I was them to show off in their own town. I'm very excited for them. Is it the right place for us to show? Maybe, maybe not. Is it something that I would want to do because Paris, I like going to Paris?
Paris, yeah.
Right? That's a different story, but is that a smart business decision?
That's why I'm wondering.
I mentioned before, like the idea of keeping up with the Joneses, right? It's the same theory. how do you grow your own culture to your own business for what you need to achieve for the people that you're representing.
Right.
And this should be an evolving thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask for the baby boomers to not come back to Design Miami that made us do so well for so many years there. We had to sit down for 2 years and figure out how to rebuild that market. And it took us 2 years to figure this out. And we had to go at it like no tomorrow. Because if 40-something thousand people were going to show up, we sure should be able to meet whatever our goal is. How do we do it? And it took us 2 years after the pandemic to figure it out. But that's what I think anyone that's smart in business will be doing and should be doing as these things are going to always ebb and flow. As the curveballs will come out of nowhere that we have to react to, not that cannot plan for. The pandemic, none of us made a mistake. We ended up in a pandemic.
Right.
We ended up in a great recession because the Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2008. We ended up in September 11th because we were in zone 1 in Tribeca and we're kids and opened up not even a year prior, right? You can't plan for these things. You have to react to them to be able to grow. That's real adult stuff. It will keep happening throughout the generations. We also, going backwards, we don't compare to, like, let's say we came around in 1900 and emerged out in the same way we did from moving to Manhattan in 2000. What happened in the first 25 years of America? We'd have been about to get into a Great Depression, but we would have been through World War I. We also would have been through a pandemic,
1918.
Right? And we don't think about it that way. Not that everything repeats in a 100-year cycle, but these things are going to keep happening.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And our goal is to have a business for longevity to represent people for a longer period of time. So I do think certain fairs could come back. I do think there'll be reasons for us to go to these other places, or we're having other types of things happening. Like we did help create the Fog Fair. We want to go back to Fog, but now we have a really good reason probably to go back to Fog because we have so much other stuff happening in the city of San Francisco with institutions coming up over the next 2 years. Right. So that might be more efficient for us now as we've now built something bigger that people can't see yet. Right.
Yeah, you guys have gotten to a very cool stage in the business where you can really figure out what's right. I mean, you don't have to do everything anymore. That's the thing. You could say no to a lot of things and it's okay.
Right.
Like really refine your program to this degree.
Right. And we did mention time. We only have so much time. And I told you I'm out of time.
Well, not quite. But
yeah. Well, but it's as much as I can almost do in a day.
Sure.
Like,
yeah, that way.
That way. And so that also dictates things too. And it's not easy work, but I love the work I do. I feel so privileged to be able to do what we do. And if we can get other people to feel privileged for what we have and to be in this very rare category of finding people to support us in life would be an amazing thing for us to really think about. Because so much of the world will never have these experiences that we've had and what we've been able to do for people and how we've been able to build lives for people. I mean, maybe that's one of the greatest gifts I have. It's the thank you and that, like, all of a sudden this person had a life, even if we don't represent them anymore, that we helped create the base, the idea, the growth, to take the chance, to open the brain, to get it, to let it out. I mean, that's the real stuff. And, in the places we get to go and the things we get to develop, don't get to stop. It's awesome. And I think more people should cherish what we have instead of saying, I don't have enough. And if we start that way, what more could come? And why aren't we trying as a design community to change the energy if we don't like the way our country is, our world is right now? Why aren't we raising our voices? Why aren't we coming up? We're only not coming up to that level because we don't think we can. Or someone's going to say, I don't know how. Sure, you know how. Everybody knows how, right? Everyone's connected to social media. If we all decided that design was going to be the best thing ever in the month of April and all put the same message out there with the same graphic and did it as a community, what would happen? I'm not selling you anything. I'm just going to say design's going to be the best month ever. And I put it on our R&Company channel, my own channel, whatever. What someone's going to be like, what did I miss? What didn't I hear? What do you think I would say to them? Of course it's going to be the best month ever for the gallery. We're doing this show, this thing's happening. I could go on for an hour. With me, then it's me. I get to wake up and do me. It's the best month ever for me in design. I'm going to go help sell other work for other people, find something new, connect people with that, start writing a new book. I don't know, whatever. It's the best month ever. Of course it should be the best month ever. But as a community, we don't do that. We don't raise our voice together.
Right.
The only thing that's ever really worked in the design community that became a national thing in America that I know of, that I can think of, there's probably more, but the biggest one that I can think of is the phrase Danish design. When I was a kid, every parent knew that phrase that was a baby boomer. And still, when I tried to tell people what I did, they would always say, the older people would be like, you mean like Danish design? Right? Somehow the Danish government marketed themselves so successfully well in America that generations later this is how they think of design. And I don't get why, if our world of design could be bigger, which we agree it could be bigger, why aren't we coming together as a community to do this? I don't know. I would have a League of Super Friends. Would you?
Yeah.
Why don't we have one?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Right.
Zesty, you're an inspiring guy, and
Thank you.
This conversation has been moving and inspiring and cool, and I think you have a lot of wonderful things that you've brought to this. So I really appreciate your time, and I could hear you talk for a lot longer, but I really much appreciate you coming here today and just giving us your story. This was awesome.
You're welcome. This was fun.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us again on another episode of Design Discord. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, send me a DM on Instagram. I'm excited to hear from you guys, and I always appreciate you guys listening. See you on the next episode. Like, subscribe, do those things. I know you know how to do it. Let's do it. Thank you. See you next time.